We all have a story to tell, a story of our past and present, a story of traditions and people, a story of identity and community that we take into our future. December is a month of stories, stories of light and darkness, stories of change and renewal, stories of tradition, family, and friends. With the new year, a new opportunity to rewrite our stories arrives, and an opportunity to reshape our lives is given. The sun is reborn, a star is newly born, and in the process, we are reborn, reshaped, and renewed. Come, let us tell our stories.
And shall the eyes of the blind be opened, and the ears of the deaf unstopped? Then shall the lame man leap as an heart, and the tongue of the mute shall sing. That are with young.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. I'm Don Close, and I'm your worship associate today. This is a welcoming community, and we are always working on how to better welcome and care for one another. If this is your first time, we're so glad you've come, and whoever you are, we welcome you in the fullness of who you are. As we begin, we want to acknowledge that this church occupies land in Huichin, the unceded territory of the Chucheño-speaking Ohlone people. We understand that we continue to benefit from the seizure and occupation of this land. We acknowledge and embrace our responsibility to take restorative action. We affirm that this is deeply felt and commit our congregation to be in right relationship with Indigenous communities, aligning in solidarity, supporting Indigenous projects, and caring properly for the land. Now, please take a moment to prepare yourself and your space for our time together. You might get a candle and a way to light it, so you can join in the chalice lighting at home. Today's chalice lighting lifts up today's being the first day of Kwanzaa, in honor of this week-long celebration of African heritage and African American culture. Let us kindle our candles, or the inner flames of our hearts, with the words by Dr. Maulana Karenga, the creator of Kwanzaa, who reminds us what Mary McLeod Bethanu, the American educator and daughter of former slaves, taught. Our task is to remake the world. It is nothing less than this. Dr. Karenga urges, let us have faith, then, in the sacred teachings of our ancestors, which say to us across millennia, let's do things with joy, for surely humans have been divinely chosen to bring good in the world. And this is the fundamental mission and meaning of human life. Now please join us in singing our opening song, Deck the Hall. The words will be on the screen.
Thank you.
Please join with me in saying our covenant. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenanted with one another.
Carols for your fair, carry Christmas cheer, twinkle in the air, it's Christmas. Kisses with a glow under mistletoes, twinkling whistle bows, it's Christmas. Christmas morning, the trees aglow, toys and presents abound. On Christmas morning, so bright with snow, peace and love all around.
A day and joy and cheer for all the world to hear. Let's celebrate the year, it's Christmas. Christmas time again for family and for friends. The year begins and ends, it's Christmas. Christmas mornings, the trees aglow, toys and presents abound. A Christmas morning so bright with snow, to peace and love all around.
Come, let's sing a song to last the whole year long. Joy and love belong, it's Christmas. All night and through the day, we'll make a merry way. Come, let's celebrate, it's Christmas.
The day after Christmas and the week between Christmas and New Year's is a special time. In this reflection, I set out to explore its meaning for me, which I hope resonates with many of you. Among all the aspects of Christmas and the days leading up to it, as varied as they can be, it is a gathering. Gathering of loved ones and dear friends, of parents and children, brothers and sisters and cousins, and wider circles of relatives, sometimes requiring travel of great distances, sometimes harmonious and celebratory, sometimes fraught and endured. And now in the aftermath, as people disperse and the bustle settles down, a space opens for quiet and reflection. And there is another gathering, an inward gathering. It may come more naturally to the older among us, who have cycled through many Christmas seasons. Too many to remember, but the most significant and eventful. The mystery of memory pops out visitations of experiences long lost in the forgetfulness. It is a gathering of memories, not kindled for many years, now seen in the mind's eye and colored with emotions etched into them. A gathering of ghosts of Christmas past. Grandma's rock-hard Christmas cookies. My dad's doorbell trick, signaling Santa's visits. My dad himself, as he aged before my eyes, from Christmas to Christmas, until he was no more. Not only memories are awakened, but the wonderings that memories evoke, questions and flights of imagination. What if I hadn't done that? What if this hadn't happened? What if it had? What might that lead to? Should I try this? The ghosts are not only people, but other parts of us. Longing still unquenched, hopes abandoned, projects stalled, commitments compromised, or triumphs and milestones earned, sorrows and joys. As I thought more about this inward gathering, I was drawn to reread Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. I sensed some parallels. Ebenezer Scrooge was visited by the ghosts of Christmas past and present and future. In dreams and in his sleep, this was a special time, for him a magical time between Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. The time between Christmas and New Year's, I'm imagining, also has a magical, dreamlike atmosphere, a space for remembrance, reverie, and play of emotions that are often dismissed in our everyday routine. I'm not suggesting that we are likely to experience the terrorizing and tumultuous and in the end, elation-filled self-transformation that Ebenezer had. But in this in-between time, we might grow and evolve in ways we might not otherwise. Ebenezer learned painfully how impoverished his life had become by his repeated passing up of opportunities to practice generosity, by passing up love. The ghosts of Christmas future brings him face to face with his death, with his mortality, and with the stark question, does he really want to live the way he had? For us, now could be a time to reassess and reaffirm our priorities for how to practice generosity, kindness, and love in the days ahead. When the ghosts recede, gathered now only as faint presences, we may experience a blending of losses and hopes, memories of holidays past, some jewels and treasures, some train wrecks and hurtful encounters, but without the sting that they once had. Some more pleasant, uneventful times with only mild disappointments. In this inward gathering, let there be an acceptance of what comes up. For all this belongs to me, to you, to us, in the rich fabric of our lives. Let it settle together in calm openness to what comes next, in the next cycle of years. Let it buoy us up in a wave of peacefulness, of outpouring of kindness, and what comes from giving and receiving generosity and kindness. Happiness. May it be so.
Kwanzaa is an annual week-long celebration that takes place in the United States. It pays homage to African heritage and is observed from December 26th through January 1st. This 7-day celebration of African roots is observed by people of all faith backgrounds, since it is not tied to any religion. Instead, this African American and Pan-African holiday is anchored by 7 principles, said each day for 7 days. The 7 principles. Day 1, Umoja, or unity. Day 2, Kujichagulia, or self-determination. Day 3, Ujima, which reveres collective work and responsibility. Day 4, Ujama, or cooperative economics. Day 5, Nia, means purpose, to build and develop our communities. Day 6, Kuumba, or creativity, to use our talents to beautify and preserve the earth. Day 7, Imani, or faith, to believe in the righteousness and victory of our struggle. Kwanzaa means first fruits. The word Kwanzaa comes from the Swahili phrase Matunda ya Kwanza, or first fruits, referring to the agricultural harvest festivals that are found throughout Africa. Dr. Maulana Karenga introduced the festival in 1966 to the United States as a ritual to welcome the first harvest to the home. Dr. Karenga created this festival for African Americans as a response to the commercialism of Christmas and as a way of uniting and empowering the African American community in the aftermath of the deadly Watts Rebellion. The beauty of Kwanzaa is that it doesn't start Black history from slavery. It starts Black people as inventors of civilizations, people who first broke from the animal world, who spoke the first human truths and wrote the first basic texts of human knowledge. Kwanzaa gives Black people a long memory, a long cultural biography. This quote from Dr. Adam Clark, Associate Professor of Theology at Xavier University, founder and co-editor of Columbia University's Black Theology Papers Project. A key custom during Kwanzaa is the daily lighting of the kinara. On day 1, we light the center black candle for unity, umoja. Each day thereafter, candles are lit, alternating from left to right. Watch now the lighting of the black candle for day 1 for the principle of unity, umoja, by family ministry members Suzette and Paloma Anderson-Duggan. Check the UUCB.org website each day to see our youth light the other 6 candles.
We light the first Kwanzaa candle for the principle of umoja, which means unity.
Umoja stresses the importance of togetherness for the family and the community, which is reflected in the African proverb, I am because we are. Umoja means a unity where everyone in our community is responsible for one another, and that by working together, we will achieve great things.
Happy Kwanzaa! Visit the UUCB.org website each day, December 27th through January 1st. Watch our family ministry youth light the remaining 6 Kwanzaa candles.
We now enter into the time of the service that we make for our hearts and our spirits, for our cares and concerns for one another. We lift up and hold the joys and sorrows and cares and concerns and challenges that we each may be facing. During our time of silence this morning, I invite you to share any joys or sorrows or significant milestones of your own in the comments. I invite us all to hold these cares in the compassionate embrace of this loving community. A reading from Wallace Stevens, The Snowman. One must have a mind of winter to regard the frost and the boughs of the pine trees crusted with snow, and have been cold a long time to behold the junipers shagged with ice, the spruces rough in the distant glitter of the January sun, and not to think of any misery in the sound of the wind, in the sound of a few leaves, which is the sound of the land full of the same wind that is blowing in the same bare place. For the listener who listens in the snow and nothing himself beholds nothing that is not there and nothing that is. Now let us join in singing hymn 1055, How Sweet the Darkness.
When windows that are black and cold are lit anew with fires of gold, when dusk in quiet shall descend, and darkness come once more a friend, when wings pursue them from the flight, and bring not terror but delight, when clouds are innocent again, and hide no storms of deadly rain, and when the sky is swept of wars, and keeps but gentle moon and stars, that peaceful sky, that harmless air, how sweet the darkness there.
Christmas is a joyous time of year for most of us, as well it should be. It is a time of visiting and celebration, a time of wonder with children gazing up towards the stars. You may have fond memories from your childhood when Christmas meant presents under the trees, when Santa Claus slid down the chimney. It's a time when we visited with family and sometimes traveled quite far to see them. As we get older, we realize that the holiday can be a time of loneliness for many. The holidays can evoke joyous memories, but also painful ones. During the holidays, we become aware of the empty chairs at the table, as well as the newly filled chairs. We look for a deeper meaning of what the holidays are about. I was driving home the other night, and there was a man at the corner with a sign that read, Homeless and hungry, anything helps. He was dirty and unshaven, a bit disheveled. I could imagine that he didn't smell quite well either. Now, if I showed up for a holiday dinner with this unexpected guest, what would my family say? Well, first I would need to take him home and shower him, get him shaved, clean his clothes. And then, what would I do after dinner? Leave him back at the street corner? If I were going to take him to dinner, I would then be taking on the greater responsibility of helping him out. This meant me offering him temporary shelter, or perhaps job assistance, or whatever needs he might have, I would need to fill. He was homeless. After all, he had nothing. I was in this inner conflict of doing the work of Christmas versus the reality of what doing the work of Christmas would entail. I weighed the pros and cons of doing what I really should have not thought twice about. I decided it was easier to give him $1 and move on my way. Though he were cold and dispossessed, there was not shame, but defiance in his eyes. Maybe the defiance reflected the hypocrisy that he was experiencing. After all, this is the holiday season, a time when the joy and the goodwill of all should be upon us. If at any time we should help someone in need, this should be the time. It should be a time to look at all we have and see in others a need that we might be able to provide, and be thankful that we have the ability to provide it. We may forget in this time of celebration of Christ's birth that Jesus was an itinerant with no place to lay his head. And remember the warning that Jesus gave in Matthew 25:34. Then the king will say to those on the right, "Come, you are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you as a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" The king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you do for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." When we see people in need or struggling, it is a defense mechanism to say, well, they should just get a job, or they need to pull themselves up. If they really wanted to be successful, they should work towards it. After all, this is the land of opportunity, the wealthiest nation on earth. Our faith in the opportunity that our nation provides is a buffer to our greater social responsibility. It's easier to see oneself as a good person because we give something to the basket on Sunday morning. But is that enough? I was speaking with somebody the other day about the struggles and the needs that people were having in middle and rural America. This was leading to a breakdown of people's feelings of self-worth. It was destroying communities. People who had had good paying jobs, who came from strong working class families, were now forced to work petty jobs for meager wages, and this was destroying their dignity. Her immediate reaction was to say they could get a better job if they wanted. I mean, after all, She does work hard for what she has. She has her own responsibilities and her own concerns. In America, we put the full onus of responsibility for the outcome of our lives on the individual. In this way, we hold to the illusion that we deserve our privilege, and we hold to this illusion tightly. Since we have worked hard, we then have no or little responsibility to those who don't quite make it. It's, after all, their own fault. They have not worked as hard as we have. But we have no right to pass judgment on those in need. We are not asked to make those rash judgments about others, but only to serve our neighbor. As a matter of fact, we have no choice but to give fully to those in need, regardless of our apprehension, if we have the means to do so. Should this bankrupt us? Well, Jesus would say yes. And that might not be a realistic goal, but certainly we are conscripted to live with less and to use what we have in the building of equality to build the kingdom, a modern idea derived from the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom is a place of recognition of the dignity of all, an inclusive society where all are cared for. It is interesting to note that Israel was not supposed to have a king, and the prophet Samuel warned against it in 1 Samuel 8, arguing that a king would take your sons to war, put your daughters to work in the castle, and take 10% of your wealth. Yet so much Christian mythos is imperial in nature, an idea that would have been foreign to Jesus, the man. As children, we learned about the needs of others, as we were informed about the starving children in China or Africa. Eat your broccoli, finish your meal. There's starving children in China. Now, no kid likes broccoli. But now as adults, we see those in need are not far away. They are on our street corners. They are our neighbors. There is need where we lay our heads to rest, because for many, a Sabbath is a privilege denied. We may feel lifted up and graced by our blessings, but also we may look at a world around us and not see the presence of God. There is need, suffering. Where is God's grace within the need and suffering? Where is God? Why do so many struggle so? Why are so many hungry, homeless, and in need? We are the face of the Lord that many are waiting for. We are the voice that can lift people out of their mud and mire. I know that each day I will fail to fully live up to that promise. But we see the kingdom when we see the homeless person on the corner as God among us, the imprisoned as God among us, those we pass in the street as God among us. We have no material promises in this life of glory and riches. As a matter of fact, it is our vulnerability that makes us all alike. But we have the promise of the presence of our Creator in the here and now, when we are our brother's keeper. That happens when we do the work that needs to be done. That is when the magic of Christmas happens and the mystery of the kingdom is revealed. That is when the promise of Emmanuel, God, is with us. Blessed be and amen.
As we commit together to making this a loving community, we take time to remember that UUCB needs our gifts and support. We invite you now to make an offering. Each week, half our offerings are shared with a good neighbor organization that needs our financial support. and we hope you will continue to practice generosity with them during these difficult times. This month, our good neighbor is the Emeryville Citizens Assistance Program, or ECAP. ECAP's mission is to provide food, care, and compassion to those in need in Emeryville and in surrounding Bay Area communities. ECAP serves approximately 300 families or individuals daily, 6 days a week. Offerings of any value are received with gratitude. Details on how to give electronically will appear on your screen as our offertory begins. Thank you. Please join me in dedicating our offering. We dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create a loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service. It's been good being together today, even virtually. Before we shift to our coffee hour on Zoom, may I remind you to check out all the things that are available in our congregation, even during the pandemic, by exploring our website, UUCB.org. There you can find a link in News to The Week Ahead, our weekly email newsletter, which includes a list of activities, announcements, and contact information. As we prepare to leave the worship service, here are a few things to note. First, we are seeking new members for the Widening the Circle Committee. For details, check The Week Ahead or contact Widen the Circle at uuc.org. Secondly, join the Wednesday 10 a.m. walking group on the beautiful UUCB campus. Thirdly, our Gamelong Percussion Ensemble group is meeting in person and invites new members to join in on Thursday evenings. No experience necessary. For information on these and other groups, email info@uucb.org or explore our website. Also, let me remind you to stay for the postlude, today performed by Brian Baker and Nara Morgenstein, Sleigh Ride Duet Fantasy by Leroy Anderson. I'm sure it will be quite exceptional. And now, please join in singing our closing song, Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky. The words will be on the screen.
Touch the earth, reach the
Our closing words today come from Howard Thurman, The Work of Christmas. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and the princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among brothers, to make music in the heart.